China has certainly stood its ground. This development is good news, but it's really a tactical truce. Both sides have agreed to sort of put off for a year any escalation into a trade war.
Donald Trump has hailed his crucial trade talks with Chinese President Xi Jinping as amazing. And the US president said the two countries had come to agreements on rare earths and tariffs, and that he would visit China in April next year. It's the first time the leaders have met face to face since 2019. Here's Trump speaking on Air Force One after the meeting.
I thought it was an amazing meeting. He's a great leader of a very powerful, very strong country, China. And what can I say? We have, it was an outstanding group of decisions, I think, that was made. A lot of decisions were made, too. There wasn't too much left out there. And we've come to conclusion on many very important points.
Donald Trump, though. Well, let's speak to Richard Byrne, a former UK diplomat to China and the country's first trade commissioner to Beijing. Richard, at face value, nothing particularly flashy coming out of this meeting, apart from the line about possible testing of nuclear weapons. We will move on to that. Anything from your position to note on what we largely know has been agreed on trade tariffs between the two countries? Can we safely say that actually America has successfully been bullied back by China?
Well, I think China has certainly stood its ground. This development is good news, but it's really a tactical truce. Both sides have agreed to sort of put off for a year any escalation into a trade war. The Chinese have said that they will postpone, or they'll leave for a year the restrictions on the export of rare earths. Trump has said that he will drop the imposition of extra sanctions on subsidiaries of Chinese companies that were already sanctioned on the Commerce Department blacklist. And he's also dropped the idea of 100% tariff on China. He's said he's going to reduce the tariff by 10% because they're taking action on fentanyl. Although the Chinese average tariff is still around 45%, so it's not as low as it could be. But both sides have stepped back from an escalation of the trade war. But I think if you look at the body language of the two of them, President Xi was looking very calm, very confident. The Chinese statement hasn't made a big hoo-ha about what was agreed. They've just said both sides agreed to reach sensible decisions about these trade matters, and that the details will be scoped out by officials, whereas Trump has made much more of a big deal of it. So I think he's found out that you can negotiate with the Chinese, but they stand their ground.
Yeah, which is an important lesson to learn. So to sum that up, tariffs on China will be cut by 10% immediately, so from 57% to 47%, and the threat of an additional 100% tariff from November the 1st has been dropped.
Yes.
Could Donald Trump escalate his unease with China in other ways now that this has been agreed on tariffs, partially because Donald Trump has had to appreciate how important Chinese goods are into the US?
Well, you never quite know what Donald Trump might do next, but he's agreed to go to China in April, and he said that he's invited President Xi to do a return visit to the United States. The Chinese haven't confirmed that part of it yet, but I think he will want this agreement to stick, and he will want a bit of a calm down in the two relationships. The markets haven't got overexcited about it, and stock markets were generally flat after the announcement. So I don't think it's seen as a huge win, but it's good news in that things have stabilized. So I think he's unlikely to escalate anything else soon, but you never know with President Trump.
And how do you feel about Donald Trump? First of all, he posted on Truth Social. He then was asked about it later. There's immediate resumption of nuclear testing by the Pentagon. Does this constitute Donald Trump ramping things up, potentially the biggest arms race since the Cold War? Because if that's his intention, other nations will follow.
Well, it did come rather out of the blue, and.
Well, I wonder if it did, though, because obviously, Russia announced it had tested an underwater drone with nuclear capabilities, didn't it? Not long before. So I sort of wonder if, caveated, between sort of Russia with that, and then of course he's about to meet President Xi of China when he makes that announcement on social media, whether there is some relevance to it.
Well, it was a show of strength. And the Russians have announced that they've launched these various nuclear-capable missiles, but they don't amount to a nuclear test. The only country that actually carries on with nuclear tests and takes no notice of what the rest of the world says is North Korea. I think this might have been aimed at North Korea. I don't think it was certainly aimed at China. I mean, if you remember, he said that he was hoping that he might meet Kim Jong-un of North Korea while he was in South Korea for this summit meeting, and nothing happened. So presumably that sort of attempt to meet Kim Jong-un was rejected by North Korea. So he might have been quite annoyed by that. And since North Korea continues to test, he might have thought, well, I'll just announce I'm going to test. But the reality is America hasn't tested a nuclear weapon since 1992, an underground test in Nevada. The experts seem to think it will take 3 or 4 years to get that site prepared for another test, even if he wants to. So I'm not quite sure where this is all going.
Yeah, look, Russia and China will inevitably feel obliged to do the same, and that is the concern here. And against that backdrop, European nations, they've already been, slandered by Donald Trump over their lack of defence spending. They are not going to want to have any more criticism aimed at them in terms of their defensive capabilities. They would have to then step up too. So, look, we can all see where this potentially could go unless simply Donald Trump doesn't mention it ever again, which is a possibility. Richard, we'll leave it there. Thank you for your counsel. A former UK diplomat to China, Richard Byrne, the country's first trade commissioner to Beijing. Good to have you with us.
I thought it was an amazing meeting. He's a great leader of a very powerful, very strong country, China. And what can I say? We have, it was an outstanding group of decisions, I think, that was made. A lot of decisions were made, too. There wasn't too much left out there. We're in agreement on so many elements, large amounts, tremendous amounts of the soybeans and other farm products are going to be purchased immediately, starting immediately. If you notice, President Xi authorized yesterday for China to start, did you know that, right? China to start buying in very large quantities of soybeans and other things, which I appreciated. That was a very nice gesture. Many other things like that. On fentanyl, we agreed that he was going to work very hard to stop the flow. It's a very complex subject because it's used for lots of different reasons, including anesthetics and things. But he's going to work very hard on it, precursors, and I think you're going to see some real action taken. I've agreed, as you know, I put a 20% tariff on China because of the fentanyl coming in, which is it's a big tariff. And based on his statements today, I reduced it by 10%, so it's 10% instead of 20% effective immediately. I believe he's going to work very hard to stop the death that's coming in. We did discuss chips, and they're going to be talking to NVIDIA and others about taking chips. Look, we make great chips. NVIDIA is the leader. And I'll be speaking to Jensen from NVIDIA, but they're going to be discussing that with NVIDIA to see whether or not they can do. I said that's really between you and NVIDIA, but we're sort of the arbitrator or the referee. It's a little rough up here. The skies are a little rough. I think pretty soon. We have not too many major stumbling blocks. We have a deal. Now every year we'll renegotiate the deal, but I think the deal will go on for a long time, long beyond the year. We'll negotiate at the end of a year, but all of the rare earth has been settled, and that's for the world. I mean, worldwide. This, I guess you could really say this was a worldwide situation, not just the U.S. situation. So we continue to produce the rare earths and buy the rare earths and everything else, when you see from other countries. But China is, that whole situation, that roadblock is gone now. There's no roadblock at all. And I'll be going to China in April, and he'll be coming here sometime after that, whether it's in Florida, Palm Beach, or Washington, D.C. Ukraine came up very strongly. We talked about it for a long time, and we're both going to work together to see if we can get something done. We agree that the sides are locked in and fighting, and sometimes you have to let him fight, I guess. Crazy. But he's going to help us, and we're going to work together on Ukraine. There's not a lot more we can do. He's been buying oil from Russia for a long time. It takes care of a big part of China. And, I can say India's been very good on that front. But we didn't really discuss the oil. We discussed working together to see if we could get that war finished. I thought it was a great meeting. I think it was a very friendly meeting. It was a good meeting for two very large, powerful countries. And that's the way we should get along with large, powerful.
Why did you write your truce so?
Thank you very much.